Welcome to the third meta shift of 2022, and I'm really glad that we can see this far ahead. I'll make the 30% of you guys have not smashed the living crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so we can get to 103,000. For this video, we're going to be looking at Mysteria Rune deck list that came out of week 1 in Japan. Now, keep in mind, when I say this, there are very clear differences in some of the card variations and things that the OCG has compared to the TCG, and we might not, and I do say this, we might not see it be this crazy impactful. But with that being said, the fact that this deck exists is a big major thing to the TCG. This is the first time we've had a deck that basically uses the opponent's deck as a resource. And this is anything like what we're expecting here in the near future, this is going to get insane. So the first list you see up here on your screen is very basic Mysterious Rune stuff. But this list is actually sporting off triple Reasoning and triple Monster Gate. Now, this list uses Auroradon shenanigans. Yes, normal summon Deskbot is absolutely amazing. Like, absolutely toxic in this. And you basically, we'll shift over here to the extra deck so you get an idea of what's going on here. So this extra deck here actually uses Hasters to make Dugaris the Timeless. And I've seen some builds that are even like using Hyper Librarian. Now, this build is not using Hyper Librarian. Like I said, I know there's a combo that involves like double Despot that turns into Hyper Librarian through O-Lion and ends up on drawing like what, draw 4 off of just normal summon Despot. And I was like, oh my god, like any Mysterious Rune card plus Despot 01 was like draw 4 and some other shenanigans. So that's disgusting. With this deck, you basically do standard combo here. You have the ability to access Dugaris, the Timeless, for some other stuff. You basically can set up a Baron de Fleur, and then you use the engine to kind of create this vacuum where you mill out your opponent. Alright, well, that's very basic stuff, but what is the point in milling your opponent? Well, actually, it creates a vacuum of resource degeneracy from the opponent, especially when you can, pop an opponent's monster, draw or banish 2 from the top of your opponent's deck. You know, you could hit a very fragile combo piece that you need to see, and that's why a deck like this is so crazy. So the first list that you saw here was Despot 001, more based shenanigans here. Now, as we shift on over here, once again, this is going to be the same story that we've seen so far. This list, on the other hand here, you see the double O-Lion and the triple copies of the Despot 01. So this is going to do on the reverse of what we were just, or this is doing what we just talked about, except for this build's doing the good stuff. Thank you, Reasoning and Monster Gates. Can the TCG technically do this? Well, with 1 Monster Gate, 1 Reasoning, I'm going to have to say no on that one. So we shift on over here to the extra deck. You see some interesting little Stardust shenanigans back here. But once again, you see the double Cthulhu plays in this deck. You see the Dugaris interaction here, once again, ladies and gentlemen. And this is where you have the Hyper Librarian come into play here, that draws you more of those things. Oh, once again, I see that our favorite card over here, Prescription, is getting some love in the OCG. I've seen that in pretty much every side deck here. Also, Jinzo, by the way, is kind of interesting. As we shift on along here, this was a Sky Striker variant that caught my attention. I know a lot of players' initial reactions when they were looking at this list were like, well, why not just play Striker in it? Because you have a deck that Sky Striker doesn't really care. I mean, the only real interaction that you have is, taking up an EDM. And the other thing is, with Monster Gates and things, you can clear off the EDM and then spam something else. Well, with this build, Zeke is going to be your friend. You'll be able to just make Zeke warp out of the extra monster zone so you can do your thing. But once again, I mean, multi-roll can clear out an extra monster zone for you as well, and you just got to be able to get to it. I'm not a super big fan of this list. I just want to point that out there. I think Planet Pathfinder feels a little bit heavy in this build. I just don't see a reason why you'd want to play that, all things considered, but it does give you a little bit of an idea of how the OCG is focusing in on this. Now, this was from a tournament in, I believe, was it China today? This was Punk Mysteria Rune. Now, once again, you're going to see the exact same thing there. O-Lion is doing his job. Man, I can't wait to see that card get banned. You're also seeing, basically we're doing the synchro shenanigans. That's going to be the best thing to really accurately say this. You don't care if you lose a battle phase with this deck, because everything that you get out of the Mystery Room package is nuts, alright? Pops, Effect Veilers, and Banishing off of the opponent. Konami was crazy when they made this. But you also see like the value on that Stardust down there. Also, just, it's relatively interesting just seeing the free tuner revivability that you get out of this deck, just as a free stepping stone to climb up the ladders here. So, yeah, this build a little bit more persuaded in the meta category here. Next up here, I've seen a lot of this. So there have been a lot of flashbacks here to Royal Magical Library. Now, the problem with Royal Magical Library is you still got to draw it. You still got to be able to do your thing. I do like skill drain in this deck. Very, very much. I love the idea of being able to just slap a skill drain on the field. The problem is you have slight negative interactions with your stuff. So say you can't really negate a monster effect that's already negated via skill drain. It's the old Widow Anchor reactions here as well. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, when you can literally potentially draw upwards 2 free cards off of the Royal Magical Library, and then in addition to how the rest of the turn is going here, you have reasoning interactions. As you see, this build is not playing the Monster Gate interactions, but I don't really think you really need them. I'm also seeing a lot of Baguskas and a lot of Exciton Knights in a lot of these decks to try to equalize playing field options here. Next up here, this one is Orcust. This one caught my attention because basically any Orcust monster is full combo, right? Because all the Mystery Room cards give you the ability to special summon a body onto the field, and then you just link out with that, and then you've already done your job. So you get access to either search your field spell, or you can go search for your spell card. All right, so whichever one of these that you need, you have access to. And you also see here that we're on triple Monster Gate, double reasoning. It's going to be really sad to see for the next X months here that the OCG is going to be stuck in this purgatory format where you see these reasoning and monster gates dictating the format, because one, being able to clear off an extra monster zone for free is nuts. Being able to mill your deck to set up infinite draws is absolutely nuts. And then once you've compressed down to the point of insanity, you just laugh at your opponent. It amazes me that Konami even tested this archetype. All right. Next up here, we have some Inspector Borders and Lava Golems in this list. Shout out to Reasoning in this deck, by the way. Okay, so I see we also have 1 day of peace in this deck. I do like the theory of 1 day of peace in here. It does kind of make sense to me. You also do see that value that Double Desires gives in this format. As much as I would like to see, you know, the exploration of Desires being at more than 1 here in the TCG, it's just not much of a thing. Outside of that, yeah, this build feels a little bit more up Robbie's alley, if you know what I'm saying, in terms of degeneracy. Just because you slap an Inspector Border on the table, your opponent just stares at you and goes, well, what in the world am I supposed to do here, duelist? And you don't really, you don't get anything out of that, to be honest with you. Next up here, this was the big one. This made a lot of players go, oh, we're really doing this? So Alistair and Friends, the list did come up today. Basically, what? You get to make Macabre plus have all of these spells and traps online so you can do your thing. Okay, well, Invocation gets to clear out an extra monster zone because you just, like, oh, hey, I made the Artemis. Let's go ahead and you slap this Invocation on the table, which means that you can activate one of your Mystery Room cards and then generate another body onto the field for a layer of protection. Okay, well, that seems pretty good, all things considered here. And then on the back end of this extra deck here, once again, I love me Dugarizes. The interesting thing with this list, though, is we're actually going for Kaligas here, actually, which will try to narrow down the view of things. While I do like Macabre in theory for a deck like this, the Kaligas are a lot more value, I feel like, because in a perfect Mysteria Rune world here, you should be controlling the opponent all the way down. So that is, well, Mysteria Rune week 1 in the OCG, and I can already tell you some very interesting things have happened. So guys, leave a comment down below what you guys think. Make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out more else content, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later on the day, guys. Peace out. Patrons! Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.